Hey, what's up everyone? It's Mr. Lang, and in this video I'm going to show you how to factor out a GCF. All you need is your pencil and a piece of paper, so let's get started. Alright, GCF stands for greatest common factor, and the definition for the greatest common factor is the greatest factor that divides exactly into two terms. So you've been doing this kind of thing for a few years. So let's go back and try one of these old style problems. So number one here, it says find the GCF, and we want to find it between 8 and 12. Well, it's pretty easy to do. What you want to do is, and you don't always have to write this out, I'll write it out for this time. You think about, well, what are the factors of 8? So you think about, well, how can I multiply to get 8? Well, I could do 1 times 8. I could also have 2 times 4, and we'll just keep it positive. So we've got 1, 2, 4, and 8 as my factors of 8. And for 12, I could do 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And I think that's it. So between the factors of 8 and the factors of 12, what's my greatest one that they both have? Well, it looks like they both have a 1, they both have a 2, they both have a 4, and I think that's going to be it. So 4 is our greatest common factor. All right. And I know you've done that before. So let's start to do some of these with variables. You might want to pause it here and copy down these examples, and then we'll go through them. All right. For B here, we got x cubed and x to the fifth. So we don't have any coefficients. We really do. It's a 1x to the third and a 1x to the fifth, but we don't really care about ones. So we're just looking at the powers of the exponent themselves, and it's a real easy trick. The GCF, if you've got the same base, x cubed and x to the fifth, you just take the lower of the power. So the GCF is x to the third. It's that easy. All right, you just take the lower of the two powers. For C here, we've got 12x and 6x squared. Just take it piece by piece. Let's just look at the 12 and the 6. This is just like that first example with the 8 and the 12. Well, the greatest common factor between 12 and 6 is going to be 6. And the greatest common factor between x, which is really just x to the first, x and x squared, is you just take the lower one, which is x. So my GCF is 6x between these two. Not too bad. And the last one here, 20x squared y to the fourth and x to the seventh y. Well, let's start with the 20 and the 1. Those are the coefficients. Well, the greatest common factor between 20 and 1 is just 1. So really, I'm not even going to write that. Then we go to the x's. X squared and x to the seventh. Well, that's going to be x squared. And y to the fourth and y, I'll take the lower one, which is y. So my GCF is x squared y. That's it. All right, so finding the GCF between two monomials isn't too bad. All right, let's get to actual problems where we have to factor out a GCF and see what we have left. So we're going to do a handful of these problems. We're going to factor out the GCF. And the first example here is 40x squared plus 24. And now you're going to see why we've been doing the window method. It's going to make our life a lot easier. So when I try to factor out the GCF, I see that I've got two terms here. So when I make my box, my window here, I'm going to make a small window. Since there are two terms, I'm going to make this have two parts here. And what I want to find and put on this side is the GCF. And then what goes up here is going to be what's left over. I'm actually just going to move this down a second. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. Okay. Alright, so I got to find the GCF between 40x squared and 24. So between 40 and 24, well, you think of all the factors between 40 and 24, it's going to be 8. 8 goes into 40 5 times, and it goes into 24 3 times. Now I look here between x squared, and there isn't an x. So if there's not an x term here, I can't use that. So actually my GCF between 40x squared and 24 is just plain old 8. And in here, I'm going to write just the problem back over, because I got to figure out what goes into this. So I've got 8. 8 times what is going to give me 40x squared? Well, 8 times 5 will give me 40, and then I need the x squared there. And this like automatically checks. So 8 times 5 is 40, and then x squared. All right. And then 8 times what gives me 24? Well, that's going to be 3. What's nice about using the window method is that you can see the check already. It's like you're doing the work and checking it at the same time. This works. So the way we write our final answer for the factoring is 8 times the quantity 5x squared plus 3. So we have factored out the greatest common factor and left it here. It's kind of like going backwards from the distributive. All right, let's do another example. We got 24r to the 5th minus 21r. We've got two terms, so I'm going to make a window with 2 panes, I guess. I want to find my GCF. Well, between 21 and 24, my GCF is 3. And I have an r to the 5th and an r to the 1st, and we just take the lower of the two. So my GCF is 3r. I'm going to write in my 24 r to the 5th here, and my minus 21r. And I got to figure out, well, what times 3r gives me 24r to the 5th? Well, 3 times 8 is going to give me 24. And r times what's going to give me r to the 5th? Remember, we add the exponents here, so it's going to be r to the 4th. Same thing here. 3 times what gives me negative 21? That would be negative 7. And then r, we're all set here. So 3r times negative 7 would give me negative 21r. So my answer, factored form, is going to be 3r times the quantity 8r to the 4th minus 7. And that's it. And again, the check is right here. So this is all the work you need to show. Third one. Another 2-termer here. So I'm going to draw my window. Got to find the GCF. Now this one's a little interesting because the lead term here, the highest degree, is a negative. So I like to factor out, make the GCF negative. That's the only kind of catch here. Well, between 14 and 21 is going to be 7. And between end of the 9th and end of the 4th, we take the lower one, that's end of the 4th. I'm going to write in the original here. And let's see what we got. Negative 7 times 2 is going to give me negative 14. End of the 4th times what would give me end of the 9th? That would be end of the 5th. Negative 7 times what gives me 21? Well, that would be a negative 3 to make it positive. And then end of the 4th and end of the 4th, we're all good there. So final answer is going to be negative 7 end of the 4th times the quantity negative 14, oops, sorry, not that, times the quantity 2 end of the 5th minus 3. There you go. Alright, we're going to keep rolling here. Now we got 3 terms. So I'm going to make my window with 3 terms. Find my GCF. Well, we got 20x squared, a 6x, and a 6. Well, there's not an x in every term because the 6 here. So x is not going to be part of this GCF. So we're just going to be left with what's the GCF between 20, 6, and 6. And the biggest common factor would be 2. Right? I'm going to write in the original here. Alright, 2 times what gives me 20x squared? Well, that would be 10x squared. 2 times what gives me 6x? That would be 3x. And 2 times what gives me 6? That would be just plain old 3. So my final answer is factored form is 2 times 10x squared plus 3x plus 3. Alright, and you can always tell if you've got 3 terms here, you're always going to have 3 terms there. Alright, next. 3 terms again. We got to find the GCF between 63p to the 9th, 9p to the 4th, and negative 81p. Well, as far as the coefficients go, 9 is your greatest common factor. And then with the variable p to the 9th, p to the 4th, and just p, we'll take the lowest one of the 3. So that would be p. So 9p is our GCF. I'm going to write in the original. And let's see here. 9 times what gives me 63? Well, that would be 7. P times what gives me p to the 9th? That would be p to the 8th. 9 times what gives me 9? That's just 1. But p to the 3rd times p would give me p to the 4th. And then finally, 9 times what gives me negative 81? That would be negative 9. And then the p's work out. So that's going to be it. My answer is going to be 9p times the quantity 7p to the 8th plus p to the 3rd minus 9. And I think you got the hang of this, so I'm going to get to the check your understanding questions. Alright, check your understanding. I got 5 problems for you to try, and good luck. Thanks for listening.